My daughter told a young man no. Okay? That's not a lie. That's the truth. Several people has come forward with this same story.
The camera captures chaos on South Avondale Street in Amarillo, Texas. A young woman in a black and white dress runs through the frame. 4 shots ring out. One finds its target, all because she refused to sleep with him. Within hours, Amarillo Police had everything they needed. The shooter on video, the murder weapon recovered, blood-stained clothes found exactly where witnesses said they'd be. Dylan Black was arrested for murder. 48 hours later, he walked out of Potter County Detention Center a free man. 7 months after that, police arrested someone else, the victim's own cousin, a man no witness had ever named, a man who'd never owned a gun.
So since the death of Felita Bailey, there have been 2 incidents concerning the family, which has involved Amarillo PD. The first incident is a family member who is currently in custody. The family does not know why he's arrested or why he's in custody. We don't know anything. However, what he's saying is very concerning. So we're trying to figure that out. The second one is another family member who was in the back of a police car, handcuffed, and was beaten.
This is the story of Felita Bailey and how a murder case with overwhelming evidence became something else entirely. August 31st, 2024. 25-year-old Felita Bailey dies from a gunshot wound after rejecting a man's advances at a house party. The suspected shooter, Dylan Black, is arrested immediately. Here's what makes this case extraordinary. Dylan Black's stepfather was a professional Army marksman who trained him to shoot. Felita's mother, Odessa Bailey, claims she has recordings of Amarillo Police asking her to frame her own nephew for the murder. The original district attorney on the case had family connections to Dylan Black and stepped down. After his release in the Felita Bailey case, Dylan Black was arrested on 5 separate occasions, every charge dropped. Most disturbing of all, Marin Kanye Bailey sits in Potter County Jail right now, charged with killing his own cousin. Not a single witness at that party ever mentioned his name to police. Not one. The question isn't just who killed Felita Bailey. The question is why authorities released a suspect caught red-handed, only to arrest a family member who 15 witnesses say wasn't even involved. Welcome to True Crime Anatomy, where we examine cases the mainstream media won't touch. I'm your host, and today we're uncovering what really happened in Amarillo, Texas. Before we begin, please subscribe and share this video. The family needs your help to spread awareness. Make noise about this case. Because if Odessa Bailey is right, if her nephew is being framed to protect Dylan Black, then this isn't just about one murder. This is about a system that decides whose lives matter and whose deaths can be covered up. Let's get justice for Felita Bailey.
My daughter told a young man no. Okay? That's not a lie. That's the truth. Several people has come forward with this same story. While being rejected, the thug decides to assault physically my daughter. So while my daughter pulls away to defend herself, in comes my other family member. He's protecting her. It's video out there, video proof. The police have it. I have it. It has not been leaked out. My child is physically, I saw my daughter's last moments. My daughter's fighting for her life. Okay? My daughter's dress was torn from her. My daughter's hair was pulled from her scalp. By these young thugs. I would never refer to them as men. They're roaches, they're rats. And their parents know who they are because they're just like them. So, as the other family member tries to protect my daughter, and it's a he also ends up pretty much in critical condition.
Felita Bailey woke up every morning at 4:30 a.m. to make her shift at the Tyson Foods plant in Amarillo. The smell of raw beef clung to her clothes, her hair, her skin, but she never complained. This job was temporary, a stepping stone to something better. At 25, Felita had a plan. She was taking classes to become a dental hygienist. Every paycheck from Tyson went three ways: bills for her mother Odessa back in Dallas, tuition for her certification program, and a small amount for herself. She'd been helping her mother financially since she was a teenager when they ran Tifus together, a small catering business that combined both their names, bringing soul food to church events and family gatherings across Dallas. Her grandmother, Felita Sr., had worked at the same Tyson plant for decades. When the younger Felita needed a job, her grandmother's recommendation carried weight. "You're a Bailey," her grandmother would say. "We work hard, we save our money, and we take care of our own." Friday nights usually meant the same thing for Felita and her cousin Dimahai Bibles. They'd get off work, shower away the meatpacking plant smell, and settle in for Martin reruns. Sometimes they'd watch old movies. They'd laugh about their coworkers, plan their futures, dream about life beyond Amarillo. But August 30th, 2024 was different. Demagie was turning 27. "We're going out tonight," Demagie announced when she arrived at Felita's place that evening. No TV, no movies. Real drinks, real music, real fun. Felita stood on her tiptoes in front of the bathroom mirror, carefully applying her eyeliner. She'd chosen a black and white dress, simple but elegant. By 10 p.m., they were heading to Mulligan's Sports Bar, ready to celebrate. Less than a quarter mile from Mulligan's, 22-year-old Dylan Black was holding court at Bodega's bar on Polk Street. Everyone knew him as DZ. He was a regular in Amarillo's nightlife scene, the kind of guy who always seemed to have money for drinks, always had a story to tell, always knew somebody who knew somebody. Dylan had grown up differently than most kids in Amarillo. His stepfather was a former U.S. Army sharpshooter, a professional marksman who'd served multiple tours overseas. While other fathers taught their sons to throw footballs, Dylan's stepfather taught him to shoot. Not just shoot, but to track, to aim, to kill. "Line up your target," his stepfather would say during their hunting trips. "Control your breathing. Squeeze, don't pull. One shot, one kill." But that night at Bodega's, Dylan was just another 20-something drinking with friends. LaToy Johnson was there, a former Tascosa High School football star whose reputation still carried weight in Amarillo. The Marrero brothers, Antonio and Josue, were part of the group too. Here's something crucial. The Marrero brothers lived with their parents at 1300 block of South Avondale Street. Their parents were asleep in the back bedroom that night. They had no idea their sons had invited people over for an after-party. They had no idea their house would become a crime scene. What the bar's security cameras didn't capture that night was the gun tucked in Dylan's waistband. What the bartenders didn't know was that this wasn't his first incident involving weapons in Amarillo's bars. What nobody realized was that two separate groups, one black, one white, were about to collide at a small house on Avondale Street. The stage was set. Amarillo's Polk Street runs through the heart of downtown. On any Friday night, you can walk from one bar to another in minutes. That's exactly what Felita Bailey and her cousins were doing on August 30th, 2024. After Mulligan's, they met up with more family, including Marin Kanye Bailey, the 20-year-old cousin from Dallas who was visiting for the weekend. Together, they bar hopped down Polk Street, celebrating Dimagie's birthday with shots and laughter. They were a tight group, family who'd grown up together, who looked out for each other. Just 200 feet away, inside Bodega's, Dylan Black was buying rounds for his crew. LaToy Johnson held court near the bar, his former football glory still earning him free drinks and backslaps from strangers. The Marrero brothers were there too, checking their phones, planning what came next. At 1:45 a.m., Antonio Marrero made the invitation that would change everything. "After party at our place on Avondale. Keep it small." But in Amarillo, keep it small never stays small. Word spread through the bar. Texts went out. By the time Bodega's announced last call at 2 a.m., what started as an invitation for 8 people had multiplied. According to court documents, when the bars closed, LaToy Johnson and 7 friends headed to the Marrero house. But they weren't the only ones. Police would later determine that approximately 40 uninvited guests showed up at 1300 South Avondale Street that night. Among them, Felita Bailey and her cousins. Here's where witness accounts become critical. Multiple people at the party would later tell investigators the same story. Dylan Black approached Felita inside the house. He was interested. She wasn't. According to witnesses who spoke to the barbed wire, Felita's rejection was polite but firm. She was there to celebrate with her cousin, not to meet men. But Dylan persisted, and when she rejected him again, this time less politely, something shifted in the room. The criminal complaint filed September 3, 2024, describes what happened next. The Marrero brothers realized their small gathering had gotten out of control. 40 strangers were in their house while their parents slept in the back bedroom. They wanted everyone out, now. 2 o'clock in the morning is when bad decisions compound. Alcohol has been flowing for hours, judgment is impaired, and at the house on Avondale Street, tension was building. The Marrero brothers started telling people to leave. Some did, others didn't. The uninvited guests weren't ready for the party to end. Arguments started, voices raised. The situation was escalating, and everyone could feel it. Multiple partygoers were recording on their phones. Snapchat videos that would later become evidence showed the crowd, the confusion, the growing hostility. 3 o'clock in the morning, August 31st, 2024. The 1300 block of South Avondale Street erupted into violence. According to the criminal complaint filed by Amarillo Police, the fight that started inside the Marrero house had now spilled completely into the street. What began as an attempt to clear out uninvited guests had transformed into a full-scale brawl. Witnesses described seeing multiple people fighting, punching, kicking, chaos in every direction. Then came the gunshots. 4 distinct pops that cut through the night air. The first bullet struck Latoy Johnson in the leg. Think about that for a moment. Latoy was Dylan Black's friend. They'd been drinking together at bodegas just an hour earlier. Yet according to ballistics evidence and witness statements, Dylan shot him. The second and third shots went wide, hitting nothing but air and pavement. The fourth shot found Felita Bailey as she ran. The bullet entered her back. She was fleeing when she was killed. She wasn't facing her shooter. She wasn't fighting anymore. She was trying to escape. Shooting. Snapchat videos recovered by investigators showed him at the party. Doorbell camera footage from neighboring houses captured parts of the incident. The evidence was overwhelming that, according to police reports, Dylan Black can be seen with something tucked in his waistband. After the shots were fired, Dylan ran. Witnesses saw him flee the scene, still carrying the weapon. He would later go to a house on the 700 block of Jefferson Street, the home of someone identified in police reports only as E.A. At E.A.'s house, according to the criminal complaint, Dylan changed out of his bloody clothes. The murder weapon was hidden at E.A.'s house. The bloody clothes were found exactly where witnesses said they'd be. Meanwhile, back on Avondale Street, Felita Bailey in the road while her cousin, Damon D.A., tried desperately to save her. Emergency services were called. Ambulances arrived. 2 gunshot victims were loaded up and rushed to Northwest Texas Hospital. Latoy Johnson would survive. What happened next at Northwest Texas Hospital defies explanation. Felita's father arrived at the emergency room shortly after the ambulances. He identified himself. He asked about his daughter. And according to Odessa Bailey's public statements, hospital staff told him something that wasn't true. They said Felita was alive and stable. For the next 5 hours, the Bailey family waited. They sat in that hospital waiting room, praying, hoping, believing their daughter was being treated. Felita's grandmother came. Other family members arrived. They asked for updates repeatedly. She's stable, they were told. She's still being worked on, they were told. Just wait, they were told. But Felita Bailey was already dead. In fact, according to Odessa Bailey's August 1, 2025 social media post, "My daughter's story has uncovered a lot of corporations and unsolved murders and missing cases in Amarillo, Texas. Never forget myself, nor her father, was allowed to identify our daughter. Even though her father was present at the hospital, he was denied the right to see her and was told repeatedly she was still alive and stable, when indeed that wasn't true. I've learned that my daughter's lifeless body was taken away from Northwest Texas Hospital within the hour of her arrival. Paperwork forged by hospital staff placing my mother's name on paperwork she never signed nor seen for that matter. The family was left waiting for almost 5 hours to see my daughter, who medical staff told was still alive. All along, they had moved my daughter's body. This leads me to believe that my daughter's organs could have been removed, which goes against what we believe. I have a hell of a fight on my hands and need all the help I can get to do so. 5 days of not knowing, of questioning, of suspicion growing. Why wouldn't they let us see her? Odessa Bailey has stated publicly that she believes her daughter's organs may have been harvested without consent. She points to the rapid movement of the body, the forged paperwork, the refusal to allow family identification, and the 5-day delay as evidence that something happened to Felita's body that the family was never told about. This goes against everything we believe. The medical examiner's report, when it finally came, confirmed Felita died from a gunshot wound to the back. But it didn't explain why the family was deceived at the hospital. It didn't explain the forged signatures. It didn't explain why a father was denied the right to see his daughter's body. Felita Bailey was dead. Her family had been lied to, and Dylan Black was about to do something that would shock everyone. He would walk into Northwest Texas Hospital himself. Not as a patient, but as a concerned friend. According to the criminal complaint, Dylan Black showed up at the hospital and approached police officers there. He told them LaToya Johnson was his friend. He claimed someone had called him about the shooting. He said he wasn't at the party on Avondale Street. But investigators already had the videos. They already had witnesses. They knew he was lying. The hunt for evidence was about to begin. And what police would find should have been enough to put Dylan Black away for murder. Should have been. September 1st, 2024. While the Bailey family planned a funeral, Amarillo Police executed search warrants across the city. The first stop, Dylan Black's house in Bushland. According to the criminal complaint filed September 3rd, investigators found 3 9mm handguns and a Yankees baseball cap that matched what Dylan was wearing in the party videos. When confronted with the evidence, Dylan changed his story. First, he wasn't there. Then, he was there, but only briefly. Then he admitted to having a gun, but claimed he gave it back to someone named Dax before any shooting happened. But police weren't buying it. They had too much evidence. The second search warrant took them to 700 block of Jefferson Street, EA's house. There, investigators found exactly what witnesses said they would find. A hoodie and pants matching what Dylan wore to the party, the clothes he changed out of after the shooting. And most importantly, they recovered the murder weapon, a gray and black Taurus 9mm handgun that Dylan had hidden there. Told detectives everything, how Dylan showed up at his house after the shooting, how he changed clothes, how he hid the gun, and those 3 words that should have sealed Dylan's fate. I killed that girl. On September 2nd, 2024, Dylan Zane Black was arrested and charged with murder. His bond was set at $500,000. The evidence against him was overwhelming. The case seemed straightforward. Amarillo Police had their killer. Then something unexpected happened. On September 5th, 2024, just 3 days after his arrest, the murder charge against Dylan Black was dropped. The official reason? Insufficient evidence. Insufficient evidence. Despite the gun, despite the confession to EA, despite the video footage, despite the bloody clothes, despite everything. Potter County court records show the dismissal was filed September 5th. They say, due to newly developed evidence and information, it was discovered that there will be a second shooter involved in the Avondale homicide from earlier this week. Dylan Black, who was arrested on 9th of January 2024, remains a suspect in this incident. But the decision has been made to drop current charges until further information and evidence has been reviewed. Dylan Black walked out of detention a free man, while Felita Bailey's family was still making burial arrangements. During our investigation, we found that Dylan Black had been arrested on 5 different charges, all of which were later dropped. 3 before Felita's murder, and the last one in 2025, when he was arrested for assaulting a pregnant woman. But here's what wasn't reported at the time. questions were already being raised about potential conflicts of interest. Odessa Bailey would later reveal on social media that the original district attorney assigned to the case had family ties to Dylan Black. That DA would eventually step down from the case, though the exact reasons were never made public. "Where is Emarsis Pinkham?" Odessa Bailey wrote in an April 18th post. "Why did the original DA who has family ties to Dylan Black now step down?" Even though the Amarillo Police Department released a statement saying Dylan Black remained a suspect, that the investigation was ongoing, that they were waiting for additional ballistics evidence, Felita's family are not buying it after they watched their daughter's alleged killer walk free after just 48 hours in custody was unbearable. For 6 months, the case went cold. The Bailey family held protests.
Hey, this is Kit Billups. I'm at 3rd and Taylor in front of the police station with LaRonda Bailey. And can you spell your last name?
Bailey.
They created social media campaigns. They demanded justice. Odessa Bailey posted constantly, sharing evidence, asking questions, refusing to let her daughter's case disappear. Then, on March 14th, 2025, everything changed again. U.S. Marshals arrested Marin Kanye Bailey, Felita's 20-year-old cousin from Dallas, on murder charges. The same cousin who'd been bar hopping with Felita that night. The same cousin who'd been visiting for the weekend, her own family. According to police, evidence obtained after Dylan Black's release identified Kanye as the armed suspect that fired the fatal round. They claimed Dylan Black had now been eliminated as a suspect. But there was a problem with this narrative. A big problem. The barbed wires investigation included interviews with 15 people, 8 witnesses who were at the party, plus 7 family members. Not a single person ever mentioned Kanye Bailey as a suspect. Not one witness said they saw him with a gun. In fact, witnesses told the barbed wire that Kanye had never owned a firearm and they'd never seen him with one. Kanye Bailey had no criminal record, no history of violence, no connection to guns. Yet suddenly, 7 months after the murder, he was being charged while Dylan Black, caught on video, confession documented, murder weapon recovered, was completely cleared. The grand jury testimony that led to Kanye's indictment was sealed. The evidence police claimed to have discovered was never made public. His bond was set at $1 million, double what Dylan Black's had been. And then Odessa Bailey dropped a bombshell. On social media, she wrote, "I have recording of Amarillo Police Department asking me to set my nephew, Kanye Bailey, up for the murder of my daughter, Felita Bailey. They are looking to dismiss all charges against Dylan Black, regardless of video and regardless of witness statement. I know the truth. Dylan Black murdered my daughter. Physical paperwork shows so. Also, evidence of who Dylan Black family is connected to and why they want him to get away with the murder." Read that again. The victim's mother claiming she has recordings of police asking her to frame her own nephew for her daughter's murder. Someone commented on her post suggesting she'd lost her mind or was being threatened by family. Odessa's response was direct. Or, "I really have facts. You're not the judge or jury. If I say I have a recording, then I have a recording, and the police know it." The implications were staggering. If true, Odessa Bailey was accusing the Amarillo Police Department of actively conspiring to frame an innocent man to protect Dylan Black. She was accusing them of asking a grieving mother to help send her own nephew to prison for a murder he didn't commit. On April 18th, 2025, Odessa posted again. Amarillo Police Department places blame on family after attempting to place blame on other young black men. All because a mother decided to fight for justice. She revealed more. APD has let it be known they don't have proof on my nephew, yet solid evidence on Dylan Black. Think about what this means. According to the victim's mother, police admitted they had no proof against Kanye Bailey, yet solid evidence against Dylan Black. But Dylan was free, and Kanye was facing life in prison. Let me ask you this. If you had recordings of police trying to frame your family member, what would you do? Would you go public like Odessa Bailey? Would you trust the system that was allegedly trying to frame an innocent man? Or would you stay quiet, hoping the truth would somehow come out in court? Leave your answer in the comments. As of March 26, 2025, Marin Kanye Bailey pleaded not guilty. He remains in Potter County Detention Center on $1 million bond. The young man who came to Amarillo to celebrate his cousin's birthday is now charged with her murder, despite no witness placing a gun in his hand, despite no criminal history, despite the actual shooter being identified on video with overwhelming evidence against him. Meanwhile, Dylan Black walks free in Amarillo, eliminated as a suspect in Felita Bailey's murder. After walking free on September 5, 2024, Dylan Black's encounters with law enforcement were far from over. According to court records and local news reports, Black was arrested multiple times following his release in the Felita Bailey case. Each arrest followed a pattern. Each time, charges were dropped. The most shocking incident involved a pregnant woman. According to reports, Dylan Black assaulted a pregnant woman after his release. The details of this assault were documented, witnesses came forward, yet once again, the charges disappeared. Then came January 2025. Dylan Black was arrested for trying to bring a gun into a bar, a violation of Texas law that prohibits weapons in establishments that serve alcohol. He was indicted on Monday for unlawfully carrying a weapon on premises licensed for alcohol sales. This wasn't a minor infraction. This was a man who'd been the prime suspect in a murder case, caught with a weapon in a place where weapons are illegal. Yet again, the pattern continued. Odessa Bailey documented every arrest, every dropped charge, every time Dylan Black walked free. On her social media, she wrote, "Want to know the truth? Read the article about where Dylan Black hid the murder weapon. At his friend EA house. And anyone with information on who this person with initials EA, contact me ASAP." She continued, "This person helped Dylan Black hide the murder weapon police later found, and he gave Dylan Black a change of clothes." EA person also told detectives that Dylan Black said he killed that girl, Felita Bailey. All this information is in the police criminal report against Dylan Black, yet they let him walk free. In October 2024, 1 month after Felita's death, the Bailey family organized protests outside the Amarillo Police Department. They wore t-shirts reading "Justice for Felita" and carried signs with her photo. They stood in the Texas heat, demanding answers. On what would have been Felita's 26th birthday, October 26, 2024, the family held another gathering. They released purple balloons into the sky, each one carrying a wish for justice. Odessa Bailey spoke to the small crowd that gathered. "My daughter would be 26 today. Instead, I'm fighting for justice while her killer walks free."
We are going to say justice for Felita. 1, 2, 3. Justice for Felita! Oh, you almost made me cry.
The family created a petition calling for federal investigation into the case. They specifically requested investigation into what they called corruption in the handling of Felita's murder. The petition asked supporters to demand accountability not just for Dylan Black, but for what the family saw as a systematic failure of justice. To understand what happened to Felita Bailey, you have to understand Amarillo's history. Amarillo, Texas was once known as a sundown town, a place where Black Americans were warned not to be outside after dark. While the city has changed significantly since those days, the Bailey family and their supporters argue that remnants of that past persist in how justice is administered. The Barbed Wire's investigation uncovered something remarkable. Among the 15 people interviewed about the night of August 31st, 2024, including 8 witnesses who were at the party, not a single person mentioned Marin Kanye Bailey as a suspect. Not one witness saw him with a gun. Not one person suggested he was involved in any violence. Yet he sits in jail on $1 million bond while Dylan Black remains free. Odessa Bailey has been explicit about what she believes happened. In her August 1st, 2025 post, she wrote, "My daughter's story has uncovered a lot of corporations and unsolved murders and missing cases in Amarillo, TX. She's not alone in these suspicions. Community activists have pointed to other cases of Black women who died under questionable circumstances in Amarillo, cases that remain unsolved or were closed without satisfactory explanations. The question of connections runs deep. Who does Dylan Black's family know? Why did the original DA with family ties to Black step down? Why would police allegedly ask a mother to frame her own nephew? According to Odessa Bailey's April 18th post, remember the first story, APD put out all evidence against Dylan Black, no evidence, only hearsay on Connie Bailey. The Amarillo Police Department has maintained that their investigation was thorough. They've stated that over 70 officers and investigators worked the case, that more than 60 search warrants were served, that over 50 witnesses were interviewed. They've also claimed that misinformation on social media has complicated their investigation. But for the Bailey family, the math doesn't add up. How does video evidence, a recovered murder weapon, bloody clothes, and a confession to EA equal insufficient evidence? How does a cousin with no criminal record, no gun history, and no witness testimony against him end up charged with murder 7 months later? The title of the Barbed Wires investigation says it all. In Amarillo, Black women die. Felita Bailey was 25 years old. She worked hard at a job she didn't love to pay for dreams she'd never achieve. She helped her mother from the time she was a teenager. She was 2 semesters away from her dental hygienist certification. She had plans, goals, a future mapped out. All of that ended with a bullet in her back as she tried to run away. Her mother, Odessa Bailey, now fights a different battle. She saves every document, every screenshot, every piece of evidence. She posts daily, refusing to let the world forget what happened to her daughter. She claims to have recordings of police asking her to frame her nephew. She's exposed connections between the suspect and local officials. She's turned her grief into action, but she needs your help. The petition for federal investigation is linked in the description below. Sign it, share it, make noise about this case. Because if Odessa Bailey is right, if her nephew is being framed to protect Dylan Black, then this isn't just about one murder. This is about a system that decides whose lives matter and whose deaths can be covered up. Have you seen justice denied in your community? Have you watched the system protect certain people while sacrificing others? Share your story in the comments. Let's shine a light on these cases together. Thank you for watching True Crime Anatomy. Subscribe to this channel, share this video, sign the petition, and never forget, Felita Bailey deserved justice. She still does. Tomorrow, we're examining another case where video evidence somehow wasn't enough, where clear proof of guilt disappeared into legal technicalities and suspicious connections. May Felita's family find the justice they seek, and may her story help prevent this from happening to another family. Justice for Felita Bailey. Say her name.